Where's my van? Where's our van? Dude, where's our van? So welcome to the episode of Ken and Beth's Excellent Adventure. The van, well, let me back up a second. This weekend, we started out on Thursday, tooling out. We were going to head up from Pennsylvania up through the Catskills in New York, on up into Vermont and New Hampshire, and circle our way back around, do some hiking, do some exploring, and just stay in a different place each night. And the plan was then to circle back through and come home. It's Monday night, and our plan was to be home tonight. We got home yesterday, and there's a funny little adventure story to that probably everybody that gets involved with camping, RVs, van life, etc., eventually is going to experience. Unfortunately enough, but just perfectly, it happened on our first long road trip, and that was we broke down. So Thursday we headed out, all was well. Remembering we have a brand new Ford Transit cargo van. It's a 350, 147-inch wheelbase with the extended rear, and I give you that detail because that will matter in the story. So we leave out of here on Thursday about lunchtime, packed up everything, clothes, food, etc., and we headed out. Honestly, we really didn't know where we were going. Well, no, that's not true. Thursday morning before we left, I did get online and I set up a campground in New York, just outside the Catskills, in a town called Saugerties, New York. Rip Van Winkle Campground. If you're ever in the area, it's a great campground to go to. We really enjoyed our stay there. Thank you. It was a great night. We pulled in. They gave us a pull-through site that had electric and water, so we just plugged in to the Goal Zero battery, and for once we really didn't have to worry about power. We just did our thing and really had a good time. Beautiful site in the pine forest, and all was well. That was 160 miles, somewhere in that range that we went. And probably closer to 200. It was pushing a 300 to 400 mile. It was about a 3 to 4 hour drive from home. So we get it there on Thursday, probably around, I don't know, 4 o'clock, 4:30. Check in, all is well, and so far the trip is going famously. And here's what that started out to be. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Thursday. We're traveling this weekend. We're heading north. Tonight we're staying in the Catskills at Rip Van Winkle's campground right off of Route 87. Tomorrow we're heading probably up to Vermont or New Hampshire, and we'll check in once we get there. This is a great campground here. The weather's beautiful. It's nice and chilled. Great woods here, and it's our first long haul trip with the van, so we're real excited. So we'll check in later this weekend and let you know how it's going. So Friday morning we get up, and a shout out to the blackout curtains that we made and bought for the front of the van, and the blackout curtains that my wife made for the side door and the rear windows, because we woke up on Friday morning after just a phenomenal sleep in the van that night. It rained a little bit. You could hear it coming down on the roof, with the exception of a couple of acorns that came down and whacked on top of the roof and woke you out of a dead sleep. It was a great sleep. We woke up. I usually am a 7:30 riser on days off and vacations, but it was like 10 o'clock. I realized I looked at my watch, and but we didn't have to check out till 3, and our plan was to go from Saugerties, New York, by the Catskills. We were going to venture a little north on Route 87. We were going to head northwest up into northern Vermont and stay just outside of Springfield. I'll put the name of the the campground in the description or here somewhere. And we were going to stay at this particular campground because there was a lot of festivities going on in this town. They were having fall festivals. There was a schnitzel fest or something going on. I have no idea what it was, but it sounded fun. It sounded cool. So we thought, let's just head up there. It's about another 3.5 hour drive from where we were at in New York. So we decided, I called them up before we left the campground. They said, well, if you're not going to be here by 8 o'clock, just call and let us know. And I told them, like, well, it's noon now. We're 3 hours from you. We'll easily be there by dinner. And so we had no worries. Friday, we decided, we took our time, packed up, ate a little lunch, got on the road. It was probably 1 o'clock. Before we checked out, I checked with the folks at the office of the campground there in New York to say, hey, Sunday night when we come back on through, this would be a great place for us to stay. Do you have any openings? They said, sure, the slot you're in right now, you can have it Sunday night, so you just come back in, pull in, and you're good to go. So we were all set up, all was well, and we pulled out. So we get on the road, back on 87, we went up through Albany and started heading northwest from there, and we got on Route 7, which is kind of a west by northwest road, beautiful drive, takes you through some great towns through New York, and it'll take you right past Hoosick Falls and the town of Hoosick, and there's a great little gift shop there just outside of Hoosick that we stayed at, Moose something or other. Again, put a picture up there of that. Went in there, looked around at some gifts, bought some stuff. We thought, hey, let's buy a New York magnet and a Vermont magnet for the van to start, really kind of giving a signature to Quinn, our van, to the different states it's been, and we've been with it on our travels. So, we got that stuff. We pull out. We get probably another. Now we're right before the Vermont border at this point, and it's about say about 3 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock, and we had about another hour and a half drive to go. So we decided, that we would just tool up to the campground from there, and we get probably 10 miles, not even 10 miles, 10 minutes up the road on Route 7, and all of a sudden on the dash, transmission service required pops up on the dash. And I'm thinking, that's really odd. I'm getting great gas mileage. Everything's been driving well. I haven't noticed anything. Zero issues with the van. The van's only got 6,400 miles on it at this point. I drive it every day to work. I've never had a problem with it. But this light comes up. And I thought, well, that's odd. That's not good. But I thought, well, maybe it just needed service, and it's going, hey, I'm at the miles, and I just had it serviced several weeks ago. And I figured, well, maybe they just forgot to reset something. So I clicked it off, and we get a little further. We're now just coming into Vermont, and we're seeing all of the Green Mountain Range there, and deciding where which direction are we going to go to get to Springfield. We could stay on Route 7, heading north and going across over to, I think it's, I forget the road, Route 91, I believe, that goes up through Vermont. Where Springfield is, and we were either going to come in from the west, or we're going to head right over the Green Mountain Range over Route 9, which were some pretty steep mountains. If you're on the west coast, yeah, these are steep mountains for the east coast, so I get it. But we decided to just stay on 7, and just as we were coming up to an exit, the light flashes again, and the van's feeling like it's starting to lose power. So I thought, well, this isn't good. I better get off on an exit and see what we got going on. I get off on the exit, and I stop check for traffic, go to pull out, and the engine starts revving and the van's very slowly moving forward. There's not a lot happening. And I'm thinking, well, okay, something's really wrong. This is not good. So we get up a little further up that road, and I start to pull off on a road, thinking I don't want to stay right in the middle of the road and have this thing die. So I start to get off on the edge, right on an intersection, and just kind of sit there for a second. And across the way, there's this driveway of a roofing company, and they were really nice, by the way. Once we got up into that parking lot, they said, if you got to spend the weekend here, we're gone until Monday, so the driveway's yours, it's fine. But we go to pull out of that intersection to get up the little hill up into this driveway, and there's nothing, man. I mean, I'm hitting the gas, and the engine's revving, and then it caught once and started going, and it got us a little momentum, just enough momentum to get us up that driveway. So we pull into the driveway of this steel roofing company. We, again, it's something I guess everybody at some point in your adventures is going to go through. Typical for us, we'll pull it off on trip number 1 because we're that good, man. Let's get it all out of the way, and then everything is smooth sailing from there. So we get up in the parking lot, and I get out. I'm looking around. There's nothing leaking out of the van. There's nothing to indicate anything is wrong with this van other than that light keeps coming up on the dash, and it's saying service required, transmission service required. So we shut everything off. I pop the hood and just start letting everything cool down, and we get our bearings, because at this point we're a little freaked out because our serotonin, or whatever the hormone is, where you're just totally relaxed. We're just in total relaxation mode because this trip so far is so cool. It's going so smooth. Then all of a sudden, bam! It just, you go right into defensive posture, and it's like, okay, what are we doing? How are we getting to our next destination? We're in a completely another state. What now? So we kind of just sat there for about 10 minutes and gathered our thoughts, and I thought, okay, so we got the manual out, started going through the manual, see if there's something stupid that, did I hit a button somewhere? We could find nothing. At this point, it's getting on about 4 o'clock, in that range somewhere. Actually, it was right around 4 o'clock if I recall. And so I told Beth, I said, all right, we have a series of phone calls we need to make. First thing, you start finding a Ford dealer local to us. Just get on your phone and search, Ford dealers local to our area. Use your location on your phone, and let's dial some in. Second thing, we're going to need a tow, because there's just no way I'm taking this van at 7,300 pounds, which, by the way, was one of the fears I had. I've been so careful during the build of this van, thinking, man, there's no way I made this van too heavy for this transmission to take it. This thing's a 350, it's rated for 10,000 pounds. I didn't get a final weigh-in yet, which was my bad, but I'm going to do that as soon as I get back in the van. But I thought, there's no way this van, mathematically, looking at what I put in, knowing my square foot area weight per square foot for each type of wood I put in, just doing the calculations, I know I'm coming in somewhere between 7,300 and 7,500 pounds is what this van totally weighs. Filled with fluids, filled with gas, 2 people in it, all of our things. I know this thing is not topping 7,500 pounds. So weight-wise, I know I'm not over. So in my head, I'm like going, oh crap, I'm gonna have to like completely pull this van apart, rebuild it again. I thought, no, I finally just finished it. I'm ready to go, see the country with this thing. So anyway, back to the story. Beth finds a Ford dealer, Carbone Ford. We were in Bennington, Vermont. That was the town that Carbone was in, and so we get them on the phone. We tell them what's going on with the van, and he says, "Was it revving?" I said, yeah, it's revving and it's not doing anything, and then it catches and bangs and it'll go. And he's like, well, that's not good. I'm like, well, I can tell you it's not good. I'm sitting in a parking lot. But, you know, in defense of him, he had no idea. And, it, you know, they honestly, the guys at that dealership, actually the people that we dealt with in general in Vermont throughout this whole thing, from the rental car company to Ford to the hotel we stayed at to the tow truck, they were all so nice and so helping. Even the girl that sat behind the desk in the roofing company that I just barged in the office, and she's looking at me like going, I know you're not a customer, I know you're not a vendor, I have no idea why you're on the other side of that glass, but she talked to me, she helped me out, she put me at ease. So they were all very, very nice. So anyway, I'm talking to this guy, telling him what's happening, and he's going, well, it's the end of the day, we're about to be done. You know, I said, well, can I get it down to you, and you can, you know, it's, you know, are you open Saturday? He says, yeah, our service department's open until 4. And he says, well, I got a real light staff and we are packed tomorrow. He says, I have 3 guys on staff, so that's going to be a little tough. But get it down here. He says, can you drive it here? And I'm like, well, I don't think so. I barely got it up this driveway. And he kept telling me, he's like, well, if you could coast it, we're literally 2 miles from you. And I'm thinking, dude, there's no way I'm coasting this thing to your dealership. And so, you know, and I'm still kind of in freak out mode, but I'm trying to hold it together to the best of my ability. And I'll put a picture of my Fitbit heart rate. You literally can watch the moment the van went and watch my heart rate just climb, 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 as it's just going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? So we were talking to him on the phone. He's saying, well, it's obviously not good. We're going to need to look at it. He says, we'll try to get it in Saturday. And I asked him, I said, well, if we can get it down to you, can we at least sleep in it out in your parking lot? Probably shouldn't have asked that question that way, because he was like, nah, that just sounds sketchy. But then he retracted and he says, well, honestly, you know, if we're gone, he's like, there's nobody here to say you can't. He says, but there's a Hampton Inn right across the street. And here's where, you know, it was a stressful situation, but at the end of the day, Beth and I are fortunate enough in life that, you know, this was only going to get so bad. Yes, our van had broken down. But yes, we also had the wherewithal we could rent a car, we could get a hotel room, we could still continue on with our weekend without it being a complete disaster and us being completely stranded. Our adventure just needed to take a slight veer off to the side, really. So, and honestly, it gave us perspective of folks, younger folks, or not necessarily, don't have to be younger folks, who maybe you're traveling around in campers or vans who don't have the means perhaps that we would, and that situation could have been a lot scarier if you didn't have, you know, you can just whip out a piece of plastic and say, I need a car, I need a hotel room, I need a meal, I need these things, you know, just let's line them up, I need a tow, etc. But anyhow, so it did give us perspective and gratitude on life for that a little bit. So that began to put this issue in a bit of perspective for us. So anyway, back to the story. So he says, okay, so you need to get it to us. And I said, I can't coast it to you. I said, can you get me a tow? Who tows around here that could tow? I said, this is a full-size transit van. It weighs 7,300 pounds. I said, I'm going to need a truck that can get this from here to you. And he says, well, literally, I'm 2 miles. He says, if you can get to the bottom of the hill, we're right at the bottom of the hill. And I said, you know, honestly, I'm not going to do that, because if I get stuck in the middle of the road, at least I'm safe, and it's out of the way, and we're in a parking lot. They say we can spend the weekend. So please just give me the name of a tow company. And he did. And I called them and told them what the situation was, told them exactly where I was. They knew the place, and they knew right where we were sitting. Told them we weren't on the road, told them we were in a parking lot. And I was talking then about as fast as I'm talking now, because just kind of like as I'm talking about, I'm kind of, for the first time since it happened, I'm sort of reliving it, if you will. And So, but I get them on the phone, and she says, yeah, I can have a driver there in about 45 minutes to an hour. Are you okay that long? I said, well, yeah, actually, we're good. We're at this point, our batteries are charged, our food is cold, we could spend the night. The roofing company office manager told us that, she said, you're fine here till Monday if you need to be. And so anyhow, tow truck driver secured. He's on his way after he has to make some delivery, and then he's going to come get us. So we immediately call the Enterprise Rental Car Company, and I say, well, do you have, I said, here's our situation. I explained the story to them. I said, what time do you close? He says, we have a rental coming in at 5:30, so we'll be here probably 5:45. Actually, yeah, it was 5:45. No, it was 4:45. He says, we'll probably have somebody here till 5 in that realm. And so, because at this point it's still like, now it's like a couple of minutes after 4, because we're just wrapping off phone calls at this point. We kind of listed it all out. We're writing them down on paper, who it is, what their numbers are, etc. Ford dealer's ready, tow truck's on the way, call Enterprise. They say they work with that particular Ford dealer, so they could literally drive over to the Ford dealer, get us, bring us over, hook us up with the car, and then we're good to go. He says, but the only car we have right now is a Ford Cargo Transit van. Are you okay with that? I'm like, dude, that's exactly what I'm driving right now. So yeah, I'm totally comfortable with that. I'm a little pissed off at that particular brand at this particular moment. Not at our van Quinn. It wasn't Quinn's fault in all of this. He's just traveling, doing the best he can. It's not his fault that a erroneous part was put in there, which is probably what this ended up being. We're still waiting to hear from the dealer as to what the problem is, but more on that in a second. So we get to the car rental place. We get in there. They're doing the paperwork. An Infiniti Q30, Q70. Infiniti Q70 pulls in. They're dropping off, and he says, I'll give you that for the same rate. And I'm like, all right, I'll take an Infiniti if you want to cough that up, and for the same price. So he gives us, long story short, we get the Infiniti, we drive that back over, and deal with that. But before we got there, back at the Ford dealer, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. So, tow truck driver comes and picks us up. Again, this is how this went. We're all over the place. Tow truck driver comes, picks us up, and it's a process getting the van on the flatbed. They pulled us up on a big flatbed. I mentioned the extended length, and that matters because if you don't put bigger wheels or a lift on the extended length cargo van, when you get it on the angle to get it up the ramp of a tow truck, which probably at some juncture you may have to do, the trailer hitch on the back, it gets the last 5 feet, and it's just too high an angle. The back of the van sticks out too much. So we're getting out blocks of wood, riding the van up on blocks of wood to get the trailer hitch up off. It was a process to get it on the truck. And when we got to the dealer, getting it off the truck was just as hard, but trick. When we came down off of it, we put two 2x6s that I rolled the rear wheels down onto the plank as the guy's working his ramp, because he kept changing my angles so the trailer hitch wouldn't hit the parking lot. But I get it up on the blocks, and he takes a 2x6, puts it under the hitch, and I drive the trailer hitch into that block, and it basically skis the trailer hitch across the parking lot on a board and lets the van down. So, trick of the trade, if you're ever finding yourself with a Ford Transit extended body and you're on a flatbed tow truck and you're needing to get down, throw a 2x6 underneath the trailer hitch and just ski that thing right off of there. I guess in Vermont they're up on the whole ski thing, they know what to do there, so that worked out really well. And we get it in. Ford dealer says they're going to take a look at it Saturday, get the rental, and so all is well. We go across the street to the Hampton Inn, directly across from the dealer. They've got plenty of rooms. They hook us up for the night, and we just kind of just let everything sink in, what just occurred. And, we're on our first adventure. We're at this point like 250 miles from home, and a brand new van that we spent 5 months building just breaks down, like transmission's dead. But again, gratitude, because we had the means to get a tow, get a car, get a hotel room, go out to dinner. I had a couple of beers just to wind that one off, so that helped. So anyway, we get up Saturday, call the Ford dealer. We go over there kind of in the morning from the hotel, and I tell the hotel, I'm like, we're probably going to need to stay here another night, because I'm thinking, Beth, she's really positive about this whole thing. She's like, nope, it's a wire. They're going to plug it back in. We're going to be back on the road. And I'm thinking, once upon a time in my life, I was an auto mechanic, and I've felt things in cars before, and I know for a fact in my head, this isn't a wire. This is something bigger than a wire. That is not what I felt coming up through the drivetrain. That just doesn't happen for no reason. This is bigger than that. It's all under warranty, but the fact of the matter is somebody has to get parts, and they have to order it. They have to find out what's wrong. On the upside though, so Saturday we go tooling off into Vermont with our rental car in the Infinity. And we have a blast of a time on Saturday. We just have to get back to the Ford dealer before 4, because that's when they close on Saturday. And they'll have us some kind of answer, like what is it? So we get back, it's probably 3:45 on Saturday, check in with them. When they took the van, they checked the computer. It had thrown some benign codes, which was my fear, that they were going to get these benign codes. Says, hey, something was wrong. We don't have any idea what it is. Start throwing parts and money at it until you figure it out. But they cleared the codes, took it out for a test drive, and it threw a hard code that said, hey, something in that transmission is seriously amiss. You need to open it up and take a look at it. Not necessarily drop the transmission out, but pull the pan out. Pull the pan down and take a look in there. Something's wrong with the transmission. So that doesn't sound great, but the reality is we're a step in the right direction, because we're not going to get this runaround. They know something's wrong with it. They're not just taking some guy's word for it, and they didn't feel any of this. So they were super duper nice on Saturday. A total compliment when we got back there. We walked in the garage, they had it up on the lift, they took us around showing us what they found, etc. They think it's something if you drop the pan, there's some bar that goes across, and the mechanic says he has seen this in the F-150 transmissions, which apparently is the same transmission they put in the transit vans. And he says that he says you just drop the pan, you unbolt this thing out, you put the new one in, and you're good to go, and it's fine. He says I've seen this before in transmissions on the F-150. He says it's not necessarily common, but I've seen it before. Sometimes that happens when they come off the line. He says they make hundreds of thousands of these things. They can't quality check every single one. Luck be it, you got one that wasn't good. But they threw a total compliment to us, because they were like, that van is so cool inside. Who did you get to outfit it? How much did it cost you? And they were quite surprised when we said we did it ourselves over the last 5 months. So they let us get in the van, get all the rest of our stuff out, and we spent Sunday driving home. It was kind of a somber day driving home, because Quinn has become somewhat of a part of our family now. We've spent so much time and energy and thought and caring in creating this van and making this van and getting ready to do these countrywide adventures, that we really felt bad leaving him in Vermont while we're coming home. So right now, status is it's Monday about 7 o'clock at night. I have not heard from the Ford dealer. I do plan on calling them tomorrow on Tuesday, finding out what's wrong. They said they were going to call Ford with it first thing in the morning on Monday. They weren't taking it out of the garage. It's going to stay on the lift, so it's one of their high priorities at this point over at that dealer. Thank you to the guys at Carbone Ford in Bennington, Vermont. If you ever find yourself in that area with a Ford Transit van, these guys rock. They're so nice. My expectation is the van's going to get fixed this week, and I guess Beth has to work this weekend. She's a nurse, so her schedule's all over the place, and so this particular weekend she does work, and I'm probably either going to keep the rental I have, drive it back to Vermont, leave it there, bring the van home, or if I get rid of the rental midweek, I have a couple of people that have offered to drive me up to Vermont either Friday night or Saturday morning, pick up the van, and we'll drive it home. So that is kind of the story of our first road trip adventure. It turned out to be quite the adventure, but again, learned a lot of got some perspective, got some gratitude on this one. It's something that you're going to face when you're doing adventures like this. We knew that coming into it, but it's one of those things that nobody ever wants to think about, and unfortunately for us, or maybe fortunately in the long run, it hit us square in the face on trip number one. So that's kind of our weekend update as our first major road trip with Quinn, the Ford Transit van. So I know this was long and this was kind of all over the place, but we're still kind of, oh, what happened? Quinn's not in the driveway, and it's so odd not seeing the white van out in the driveway when you look out, and it just kind of feels like a member of our family is just not here, and it's oddly weird that the van is not here with us right now. Even my wife Beth says she's not happy that the van is not home with us. It's like one of our kids is not home and is away, and we're kind of feeling the pain that he's not here right now. So I'll give another update when we find out more, but in those situations, keep your head, work together as a team. If you have a partner that, I think if Beth wasn't there, if Beth wasn't there with me, I would have probably come closer to completely losing it. If I wasn't there for Beth, she would have come closer to losing it. It was a really hard situation to be in, and after especially being so calm, and then you're in such a hyper state of adrenaline, that it was really interesting the way we came together and we worked as a team to really come to a great end to the story really thus far. Saturday we went to Manchester, Vermont. We hung out there for a while. We drove around the Green Mountains. Vermont is an absolutely beautiful state. Bought some stuff, did some gift shopping. Actually went into a woodworking store and saw some things that we were like, we could totally make that for a wine rack or a fishing rod holder that we need for the van. So just a lot of good came out of the weekend. So while it was we did have a crisis, the weekend still was a great road trip, and at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about the adventure. No matter where the adventure takes you, it's all still an adventure. So anyway, that was a long story, long update. Apologize, hope you hung in there with me, but this is Ken. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you like the content we're putting out. And until next time, or until I know something of what's happening with Quinn and when we're getting Quinn back and what's happening with the next road trip, we'll see you on down the road. Bye-bye now.